program you have with Disruptive. I guess I want to start it with Chandler because Joe, you're doing phenomenal things. A big guy, ranked like one of the top middleweights in UFC. So it's such an honor to speak with you as well. But I wanted to start with Chandler about what it's like working with Joe.
I mean, Joe and I, it's funny. It doesn't really feel like work with Joe. Joe helped me find my passion in life. We were both in high school together. We were both athletes. And as I grew up and got in college, I started working with cameras more, working with film more. And one summer back, I believe it was like my second year of college, I was back in Philadelphia and I contacted Joe like, hey, let's film stuff with my new camera. And it was in that process of filming with Joe that I kind of got hooked on filmmaking. His story is so unique and powerful. And I remember the first time I made like a quick 1-minute video for Joe and sent it to him. He was like, yo, we're going to do big things together. And I was hooked that day. So working with Joe doesn't really feel like work because it's something that I love doing. And I'm not only am I doing something that I love doing, I'm doing it for a friend. It's not like he's my boss or, there's like, harsh deadlines or anything. Like I'm just trying to help out a friend with his amazing talents, with the talents that I have to help amplify his talents.
And how many UFC fighters have you worked with thus far?
Well, it's funny. That is kind of what Joe got going for me. So back in college, when I made a documentary on Joe in 2019, and that kind of jump-started my whole career back in the day. So I got signed to a sports agency, the same sports agency that Joe signed to, and he set me up with that job. And through that, I was able to work with a lot of high-level UFC fighters like, Tony Ferguson, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, others like that. But in the back of my head, I just wanted to keep working with Joe. And now that Joe's in the UFC, it's like everything's truly come full circle for me.
Nice. And so, Joe, on this journey that you've had, what an amazing journey you've had. You had some bouts with homelessness, and then you talk about how you want to give back to younger people and be a role model, so to speak. What is it like working with with Chandler?
Well, one, I don't want to be a role model. I want to be an inspiration because I'm not fit to be a role model. I don't hold myself in that regard. But I do want to inspire kids and the youth to just keep on pushing and find that passion, find that love for something that makes them push beyond their unknown limits. But as far as working with Chandler, it's always been a pleasure. It's never been a complaint. I've never gotten a highlight or worked with him and been unhappy with something. I've never had to critique him. I've never had to be like, yeah, I don't like this, or I want you to change this. He delivers the message because we have a friendship first and foremost. I think he understands me as a person, the things that make me tick, the things I like, the things I don't like. So he really kind of dresses up my highlights, my life, the way I, kind of express it and the way I believe in living life. So it's cool. I'm very appreciative for him and of him and his work and his skills and talents. And, aside from that, I get to call him a true friend. And, I'll always be forever grateful for that. And I'm glad that, we've been able to not just help each other, but stay real, true friends aside from business.
And speaking of things that make you tick, what are some of those things that make you tick?
I'm not going to tell you those things.
Because you've had an opportunity to fight some of the most prestigious fighters in your division, and you said to yourself, "Let me slow down. Let me take a seat back, and I guess get a rhythm, and also not rush it." Right?
Yeah, I'm 26 years old, man. I have plenty of time to fight, and part of what Disruptive has stepped in and been, the biggest role model for me in my journey moving forward is being able to alleviate some of that pressure to feel like I have to fight because I need money versus fighting because I love what I'm doing. It makes it a little bit easier. Not everybody starting out like me has that position or opportunity. And that's exactly what this is with Disruptive. For each other, it is an opportunity to grow and mature and build my brand. And, my brand is my name, so that's what's most important. And I represent myself very well. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. I've never done drugs. And, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm very open for the most part. With the things that I want to be open about. And, then there's always going to be that reserve because I think certain things are private and personal. But yeah, I mean, it's been great so far. And I have no need to rush my career. I don't want to end up dead and broke and ashamed of what I could have done. So I'll take my time. I'll make it make sense. And whether it makes sense to anybody else, that's not my concern.
All right. And in terms of building your brand, can you elaborate on some of the types of things you would like to build your name out, your brand out with?
I mean, when I say build my brand, it's like, what does my name stand for? When you think of my name, Joe Pyfer, what do you think of? Are you going to think of exciting fights? Or are you going to think about, a guy that's going to go out there and point fight or be boring or things like that? When I say build my brand, I'm the complete package. I can talk, I can speak, I can talk shit because I don't like anybody I fight, and I always will. I will always hate everybody that I fight, but I always will have the utmost respect for each and every person, whether I think they're good or they're not. This is a sport, and I wish to never hurt somebody to the point that they can't recover. But as far as in that cage, I'm going to put permanent damage on people. Having experienced my own injury of something that I'll have to carry on, arthritis as I get older, and let's not forget I've been in this game for over 20 years, so it's like I got to make these shots count while I have it. And, also, building my brand is partnering with big time sponsors and carrying myself in a certain fashion that will land me those deals while also having the resources of, Alex Davis and Disruptive and their whole team, working for me while I'm not working. That's what's very pivotal in my career right now, is having people working for me while I'm not doing anything but train.
Nice. And what do you guys think what's the glue that bonds you guys together? What makes it so synergistic for the two of you?
Me and Chandler?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's like a specific bond other than just maybe a basic understanding of what each other's role is, and that's to push each other to be better. And he's always given me encouragement along my career, through the ups, through the downs, through the highs, through the lows. You know what I mean? He's still been my friend first and foremost. So aside from all the bullshit love that comes with this game, all these interviews and things like that, me and him have, before any of this, we've always been true friends. So I would just say maybe the bond, if there is a synergy there or whatever, it started from the bottom and now we're here, right?
And Chandler, so I know you've probably been on shoots or productions that have had tons of crew members on there. I noticed that you guys use a very less evasive or skeleton crew type of format. When did you notice that worked to your best interest in what you're trying to achieve versus a larger crew?
Well, a lot of the things about this documentary specifically it was a chance for me to prove myself and show what I can do. And when you're in that position in your career, like I have had a successful career so far and worked with high level people, but when it comes to making a feature length documentary, right, it's something that's over an hour long, and having that undertaking, typically you do have a few cameramen, you have a few editors, you have a colorist, you have producers. And for this, because of my relationship to Joe, I really did have to do everything, but that's how I wanted to do this, right? Like, some of the content of this film is so, it's weird talking about it sometimes in a sense of a story, but it's devastating, right? Like, when I'm putting together this documentary, like, there are times I'm crying making it. Like, this stuff is brutal, it's devastating, it's awful. And I didn't live it like Joe did, but for lots of it, I was his friend during it. So reliving that trauma, I don't think me passing this off to an editor, no matter how talented they are, they could be the best editor in the world. They weren't there with me when this horrible thing, I don't want to spoil, but like, this horrible thing happens to Joe. Like, I'm the best person to convey the emotion of that, probably besides Joe himself. So I think that for me, being able to work kind of on my own in this situation, it lets me work faster because I don't have to run things by people. I know what I want, and the only person whose approval I care about is Joe's. It's his story. So he was the first person to watch it when I finished it, and as long as he said it was good, then I'm like, all right, I'll refine the fine edges of what I know need to be better as a filmmaker but it's his story. So if it resonates with him, then I did my job.
And Joe, what was going through your mind, or what was the first impression that you had when you first viewed the film?
Speechless, emotional and speechless, like sad and, kind of dumbfounded to find the words to express what it meant. And exceeding, he exceeded my expectation. So it kind of leaves you in like a speechless moment of like, man, all I can say is that's the best thing I've ever seen. And it's not because it's my own story. I think it's relatable, so it brings out a special emotion. But I think if I was just a stranger sitting on the couch that happened to come across this, I think I would have cried regardless. And the best part of it all is this isn't a sob story to make you cry. This is hey, this is what this person had to go through to be able to get to the UFC. And not many people know that there is no blueprint to get there. And it's kind of like a draft. You got to make some noise until you finally get selected. And then, that's like a very hard shot to get. And then let alone I had to do it 2 different times, yeah, I would say speechless, and he exceeded my expectations by a long shot.
How long? And you mentioned 2 different times. Can you elaborate on those 2 different times that it took you to get into the UFC?
Yeah, the one where I broke my arm and the one where I won.
Right. And what was going through your mind when you broke your arm? Because I was watching some footage on that, and that scared the hell out of me, honestly. 'Cause, like we all know, UFC is brutal. Um, what was going through your head when that happened? Besides, I'm sure that you spoke about the adrenaline rush of that, but what else went through your head when you experienced that?
I mean, the immediate thought upon losing is, one, what the fuck just happened to my arm? Uh, and 2, like, that's it. Like, I know I'm getting carted out of here and I'm not going to get a chance to, you know, correct what just happened. I know that the road just based off the pain is going to be excruciating. It's going to be a long fucking journey to get back there, and I might not get a second chance. So I would say a lot of doubt in that very moment, a lot of concern, a lot of nerves, a lot of just mind floating everywhere. Like, man, is this really it? Did I just spend 18 years of my life at that time chasing something that I'm not going to attain? And it makes you question a lot of things that you've done, but that's just in the moment, heat of the moment, and very upset. You got to remember too. I like, people don't understand, when you lose, you don't get to say what's up to the boss, man. You get carted out of here. That's it. Get out. They don't give a shit. So yeah, I mean, I would say a very dark, panic is what I was feeling in that moment.
And how did you pull yourself out of that dark panic?
Uh, you know, I think friendships. Really mattered. Chandler being specific. He immediately had texted me. I don't even know if it was within an hour, but there was a couple of paragraphs about, hey man, like, this is a building block. I'm so gutted for you, but you're gonna come back, and this is only gonna make you stronger. And I still believe that you can do it. That was an immediate reaction to what had just happened. He never lost the faith. My wrestling coach that I lived with never lost the faith. A lot of people did lose the faith too, as well. You know what I mean? I think what pulled me out of it is knowing that my spot is never guaranteed, and I have to fight every day to own it and have it. And if I want to attain it, I'm going to have to go to a new depth that I've never been, and dig even deeper into my character to really find out how bad I wanted this. And nobody will ever tell me in my life that I wasn't self-confident, that I wasn't built for this, because let's be honest, disruptive is in the picture because I built myself, because I made myself stand out, because I refused to quit, because Chandler and I sat together and made this, and because I think they recognize there's a certain thing I like to say, like, you can watch a certain fighter and you might not feel shit watching them, but when I come out, I think there's a certain energy. I think there's a certain nervousness when you're watching me, because I'm coming to do something big. I'm not one of these guys that's coming out here to play the point game. I think anybody that knows me, anybody that follows me, truly knows me, knows my career, knows that I come out to win big. And I come out to win big or lose big. You know what I mean? So it's an excitement. And, I think pulling myself out of a dark hole is just knowing that I'm a dog that will keep attacking until I got no more life in me. So until I take my last breath, I think this is what I'm meant to do. And I believe that with all my heart. And I think that's what carried me through in the end. Having good friends that I could rely on, good mentors, and above all, a resilience like a motherfucker and a self-belief that was, undoubtedly wanting to get back in there and prove everybody wrong.
And where do you think you get this resilience from, or this ability to be so, this passion and this heart? I think that, a good fighter can train all day long, but they don't have the heart to get back in the ring and the heart to get back after, being defeated or feeling defeated. That's where it all comes from. Do you feel like that you were instilled with that from parents or from family, or is that something that?
I think I got a good installment of grit and toughness from my parents. Going through an abusive childhood, I definitely think shapes you to be strong. Um, Absolutely, but I also think it's a mixture of everything. I also think it's a part of my mentality. It's a part of my mental strength. It's a part of how I view life. I really am afraid to die one day, and I'm 26 years old, but I never thought I would live to be 26 years old. So now I'm 26 years old. I'm like, holy shit, that's going by fast. And I never want to be, if I'm lucky enough to live long, I never want to be old and look back and know that I didn't live while I was young. So I don't want to be old and look back and be like, man, I was so scared walking to that cage that I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't let it go. I didn't talk my shit. I didn't reach out to the sponsor. I didn't talk to this person. I didn't say what I wanted to feel. Well, I didn't say what I wanted to say because I was worried about how somebody might think of me. You know what I mean? I'm very unforgiving that I don't give a shit if you like me. I don't care if my mom likes me. I don't care if my dad likes me. I'm past that. I'm a grown man now. I've matured, and I know what drives me is my own ambition, my own goals, my own desires, and I think it's my mental strength as to why I'm so resilient because I have a healthy fear for wasting this one life that I have to live. So I'm gonna fucking send it, and I'm gonna crack as many people's faces as I can and get paid and secure my financial future.
Amen. Amen to that. And then Chandler, for you as as somebody who directs projects and films and things of this nature, where do you feel like you've gotten your ability or your innate ability to be able to push people and drive them and show support and nurture relationships like the one you have with Joe? Because of course, like we all know, a good director is someone who can inspire and lead. Where do you feel like you've gotten those attributes from?
I mean, I don't think there's really anything that I did to help Joe besides be there, right? So like I can't take credit for any of his success whatsoever. But when it comes to what makes me be able to get that emotion out in film, I think honestly it's because I care a lot. And shoot, I don't really know how to even elaborate on that, but like when Joe is walking out, after breaking his arm for his comeback fight, I want everyone who's watching that to feel the same way that I felt watching that. And I think that's the part that comes easy to me is, I'm watching his comeback fight. I'm like, yo, this could be it. Like, I want to throw up. I want to cry at the same time. I want to scream. He wins. I'm crying of happiness. Like, I need people to feel what I felt in those moments. So in works with Joe, it becomes really easy for me because I was there for a lot of it. Obviously not in the childhood stuff. I wasn't there, but for moments where I was there, it's just trying to replicate what I felt in that moment because I care so much about the outcome, and just replicating that feeling.
And then can either one of you elaborate or speak to Disruptive Sports Group and how it became like I guess how it came into fruition? Like how did the whole
Yeah,
program start?
yeah. Well, so I have a great management company in Boyd Pearson. Um, with Vader Sports is who I'm under, and Mike Vespa. So those are my managers, and I've been with them. They're the only company I ever signed with, the only manager I've ever had, and I've had the fortunate ability to be able to say that I care about them outside of, again, business. So I really do consider them a friend. I know they say don't mix friends and business, but I know that person cared about me at my lowest and never took a dime from me at my lowest, and even when I was on winning streak, these people never took a penny from me, understanding that I didn't make, hardly anything. So, Lloyd was in conversations with Alex Davis, and Alex Davis wanted to branch out with his company and really start to like support, professional MMA fighters. And, they could have picked anybody, man. They literally could have picked anybody. This man is super successful and on a stature that you probably wouldn't believe as far as success, as far as, financial success. And, but, through all that, the man is a very relatable, good human being that will have a conversation like we are having now and listen and, give feedback. So I was really appreciative of that. Lloyd brought it to my attention, and it seemed to make sense. It seemed to fit with what we are trying to do and what I have the capabilities of producing as a future superstar in the UFC. I haven't even scratched the surface, being only 2-0 in the UFC. So, we plan to take this to the next level that other fighters haven't, because they have infinite resources, and they are really willing to explore every option possible to give me the best possible chance to succeed. So Alex Davis with Disruptive Sports Group, I think, is going to be that key figure and really like elevating my career past, all these other guys that have to, fight 20 fucking fights to just get recognized.
And can you talk about your or speak to your workout regimen? And I guess, and just let's hear about your workout regimen. I know you say you talk about cardio and all the fundamentals of that, but I would love to know more about your workout regimen, because I think it's very important that you reiterate that, because obviously it got you through. I mean, you feel like you had 99% or more. Have you gained the strength and the use of your arm since the injury, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't fight if I didn't think I could, come back 100%. Obviously, it's not as straight as it used to be, but for anybody that thinks it's going to be a problem, step in there with me. So, yeah, I mean, my training regimen is very brutal. It's very rigorous, and I'm not going to put it out there for everybody to copy it, because I don't give a shit if anybody else is successful unless they're on my team. So, but yeah, I mean, I have a rigorous schedule. I have great coaches and Team Marquez, Jonathan Webb, jiu-jitsu coach. And I also have Pursuit Training, which is my strength and conditioning coach. So, yeah, I mean, I have the best possible tools in my area to succeed, and I will keep utilizing and taking advantage of those people and their skills and their mentorship and their coaching. And as long as I feel like I keep growing and getting better, then I'm just going to keep with what I got. If it's not broken, don't fix it, is what they say. So, yeah, I love where I'm training. I love who I'm training with, and I get very good looks. Obviously, I have stellar teammates and Sean Brady, Jeremiah Wells, Andre Petrosky, who I've trained with for almost 10 years. So the bodies are there. We got some really dangerous up and comers, and my teammate Igor, Jose Soto, and we got a lot of we got a lot of talent here. We got a lot of talent. There's no shortage of bodies. There's no shortage of training teammates, and a lot of people that you don't know their name now, you will know their name soon, because I'm not just one of these guys that are hyping their team, but we have a lot of really, really, really talented kids that are pro level fighting in amateurs.
And now, Chandler, when you guys went on, I guess, began this journey, did you do was there a lot of pre-production involved? Did you find yourself doing tons of storyboards, and did you have a script, so to speak, or how was that?
I've done 2 feature-length documentaries before this one, but one of them was on Joe from 5 or 6 years ago. So for when I'm working with Joe, it's kind of like all those normal rules about filmmaker are kind of thrown out the window, because this is so close to me, right? So like, I do have storyboards for this film to organize the pacing and when certain things happen. And okay, if I want to keep it at 70 minutes long, when should this main event happen? When should this event happen? When should we slow it down? When should we speed things up? But I knew what I was going to do, like, the whole time these things are happening. So when Joe wins his comeback fight, I already kind of know what music I'm going to put there, what emotional cues I want to go there. When Joe won his UFC debut in spectacular fashion, like I basically went home and made the end of the film that day when I got home. I knew exactly that's how I want to do it. So I do think that in terms of filmmaking, I'm very fundamental when it comes to storyboarding and planning things out. But when it comes to Joe, in a more pure way, I kind of get to throw those rules out the window and just sit down and make what I experienced. It's just a little bit different with him.
Nice. And have you what's the response that you've received from some of your colleagues or some of your your colleagues and some of the people on your team and not on your team that you speak to in the industry? What's the kind of response have you gotten about the film?
All fantastic, which always makes me really happy. Just when anybody, even in interviews like this where I get to talk to someone who's seen it, even at our premiere, I mean, how many times have I watched it now? Probably over 1,000. When it comes to editing together every frame, I've probably spent 10 minutes on every second of that film or more. So hearing other people's opinions on it when I've been so close to it that I almost can't see it anymore is always great. And, when I first finished it, Joe's the first person who watched it, but then I have to send to people who are maybe not as into the UFC or people who are deep into filmmaking and other documentary filmmakers to get their takes on things that can tweak, because it can't just be one person's opinion. Obviously, I'm the director. It's going to end up exactly how I want it, but I need to hear other people's feedback. And thankfully, there really wasn't much. And, sure, that credit goes to me. But like I said, with this story, I was very, very, very confident in how I was going to portray it because I was there for lots of it. So it went through a lot less revisions than a typical project would, in a good way. It was where we wanted to be. It was, developing the emotions that we wanted an audience to feel. The pacing was good. One of the things that I love hearing when Joe was doing Ariel Helwani, Ariel said, it felt like 10 minutes had passed. And that's the best thing I could hear. When you sit down and you watch a movie and you feel like it wasn't long, that you weren't bored. And that's how I really tried to structure is move fast and keep you entertained. So hearing stuff like that, like, oh, it flew by, that's my favorite thing to hear.
And I guess, Joe, every time you watch the film, or how many times have you seen the film so far? Because you guys are doing I'm sure the circuit with the whole festivals and everything. How many times have you seen it?
I personally seen it, I think 5 times now.
And every time you watch it, do you feel like you've learned something from it or you gained something from it than the last?
I wouldn't say I learned something from it. I'm just reminded of my journey that sometimes I forget, because I try not to look in the rearview mirror too much. But it reminds me of the emotion, of the grit, of the determination, and sometimes you lose that when things get a little bit easier. I definitely don't lose the drive, I'll tell you that. But sometimes it brings me back to a wholesome, special place to remember that I was a poor kid that was counted out, and here we are. I'm not anybody special. I'm just a motherfucker that refused to quit. So it makes me thankful that I can look back on almost like a piece of history in my life and feel proud of it.
And are there any words of encouragement or advice that you would offer a young person that's aspiring to be in your shoes, since you've been through so much and such a,
Yeah, I mean, if they want to be in my shoes as far as fighting, I would say it's, be real with yourself. Don't lie to yourself in this sport because it's ugly, it's mean, and it's a dark place when you lose, and it's an unforgiving place too. Nobody has sympathy for you in this game. Not the way you would think, anyway. I'll put it that way. And it's not very rewarding. It's not going to be rewarding even when you first get in the UFC. It's not, and I simply say that because you won't make the desired money that you think you will make, and that's absolutely okay. It's just everybody starts at the bottom. But make sure that if you're going to do this and you want to be in my shoes, make sure this is something that you're willing to get up at any hour of the day to get better at, and swallow your ego, man. Go and drive at 4 a.m. to go meet somebody. If he's a coach that's willing to drive, then go meet him. Gonna pick up always constantly evolve. Constantly, when I say evolve, if there's a coach that's better and you're learning and you feel like this guy's giving you the best tools and blah blah blah, go for it. But also have somebody that's able to mentor your career in the sport so you don't make the wrong decisions like I had. Sam Warpisa was a very big pivotal part in my, signing with my management and talking and being able to articulate my words and maturing and not sounding as I guess dumbfound like dumb. I don't know what the other word is, but stuttering and shit like that. So he made me read, or he made me watch things and told me, if you want to get a message across and you want people to listen, you have to be somebody that's entertaining. You have to be somebody that's, able to articulate the message you're trying to deliver. And I don't have a filter whatsoever, and I don't care if that's offensive. I say what I feel, I say what I mean. For the most part, every time, from time to time people will slip up, but yeah, I mean, I would just say make sure that this is something that you're passionate about and not something you're in love with the idea of, or else you're going to get a really harsh reality when you come and you fight some killers that are, coming from a similar background like me, because it is very common, especially in the sport, to fight a dog that is, trying to find its next meal. So if you're passionate about it and you love it, chase it. And who gives a shit what anybody else thinks? If this is in your heart, this is in your gut, go for it. Take it to the moon, man.
Real quick follow-up: has any of your training taken place overseas in some of the Asian countries? Because a lot of UFC fighters are trained, Muay Thai experts overseas in certain areas of the country, of the world.
USA, dog. That answer your question?
Yeah.
All right, my man.
Bro, you're so eloquent. I love it. I love it. And you're right about that.
That's another thing. That's one thing I'll say. We're not allowed to walk with our flags, and I can't fucking stand it. I'm proud of my country. I'm proud to represent at a world-class level my fucking country, and I'll always be proud about that.
And Chandler, just to wrap up with you, same type of question. In the midst of the writer's strike and AI taking over all the things that's going on in the whole film and TV world, what, I guess, because you released this project at such an amplified time, with so much going on. What words of encouragement would you offer a person aspiring to be in your shoes and becoming a director or a filmmaker?
I said this before when I was talking with Joe. You can't be afraid to work for free when you're first started getting out, because if you want to get paid to do this, if you want to get your name out there, you have to prove yourself. And I feel like lots of what my career has been is, okay, if this person doesn't see value here, let me do it anyway. Let me prove myself. Back in early college, I was doing wedding videos for free so that I could show people that I could do wedding videos really well. Like, everyone's got to start somewhere. And with Joe, right, when I got hired at the sports agency to work with championship UFC fighters, I was able to show, like, hey, if I was working with this championship fighter, look at what I did with Joe, who was a regional guy at the time. Now, obviously, Joe's exploded past that, and we've been able to grow together, but you have to prove yourself. And that's what I feel like I've been able to do when given an opportunity to make a video on whatever it is, whether it's an advertisement, whether it's a wedding video. I always wanted to make feature-length films. So when it came to this project, I've taken a lot of inspiration from Joe's story. If you want to go after something, you can't have a plan B. I had a YouTube channel that was growing and getting some subscribers, and I quit it when I had the opportunity to make this film, because I was like, I'm not going to have time to do anything else. I'm gonna have to go all in on this. And luckily, when you bet on yourself, lots of times it pays off.
Nice, beautifully said. Because I know a lot of people, they always think that everything's comes so easy, or it's or nepotism. It's not always that way. Is there anything else you guys, the two of you, wanted to share that we haven't spoke about?
I'm just excited for people to watch it, man.
Yeah, expect to see it on a big platform. Alex Davis is taking this thing with his team and running and trying to make it as big as possible in a way where as many people see it, and it makes the most sense for me, because let's not forget, again, I said this on the one of the other interviews, like, this is my one true story that I get to share one time in a very genuine, straight to the point way. and it's also a vulnerable spot. You know, it's up for criticism. There's always going to be that shitbag fucking turd out there that'll talk shit on it, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm open to that. You know what I mean? But you know, I'm gonna make it worth my while as well. You know what I mean? It's not about the money, but it has to make sense too. This is about making delivering a message to, you know, the younger generation that is pretty much soft. That, hey, you don't got to call it quits. You don't got to give up. You don't got to go cry to your mommy. You know, pick yourself up and keep pushing. Pick yourself up and believe in yourself. Pick yourself up and put yourself around the right people. And the biggest thing, the biggest message that I want to deliver to people is you are who you surround yourself with. Chandler, I know who he is as a person. I know his heart. I know who Sam Orpiza is as a person, what his heart is. I know my best friend, David Stevens. I know who he is as a person. None of these people have bad habits. You know, everybody's got their imperfections, but none of these people are out there doing fucking drugs or robbing people or stealing shit. And, you know, I don't put myself around stuff like that. So if you can't be a smart enough human being in this shit world that we live in of people that don't care about each other, and you can't figure out that putting yourself around people that do bad things is going to make you end up in a bad spot, then you're destined for failure, and you don't deserve success. You know, success is hard. Success is, you know, not going out and doing bad things and drinking and doing drugs and being high all the time. You know what I mean? Like that's a bad choice, especially when you're a child, you're an adolescent. You don't need to do those things. You need to be in sports. You need to be good at school, really learn school, you know? And yeah, I mean, that's my biggest message, you know, don't be a fucking turd in this world, give back.
Well, great, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by and speaking to us. I really appreciate you. 360 Magazine loves what you guys are doing. And I think we're just standing for is a whole nother platform of people like yourself who stand for something and who are transparent and who are inspiring others to do greater things. And I think you definitely should get your flowers.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
All
All
right,
right,
buddy.
see ya.
Thank you.
Bye.